we're not experts. We're more here to like make you feel like you're not alone and give you a place to listen to some stories that might make you feel better, might help, or might just help you realize that everybody goes through these crazy things. This is Full Stack Moms.
This is not a parenting podcast, nor a business podcast, but a place where we talk building careers in tech, raising kids at home, and making it work in public.
So I've been in tech my whole career, and I was there before I had kids, and now I'm here after I've had kids. And I mean, it's wild, some of the differences, but I've also had a winding kind of career. And so when I started out in tech, I was that girl who was in the office downtown, turning the lights on every day, in the office. Do you remember when we had that app where you became like the mayor of something? What was that?
Oh, Square something?
Foursquare.
Foursquare.
Yes. Okay. So I was like the mayor of Exact Target for the longest time because I was that 20-something-year-old who got to the office at like 6 a.m. And checked in before everybody else, I guess, whatever. So I did that for a long time. And when we had our first son, I decided that I thought, I probably wanted to try out being a stay-at-home mom. So I resigned and decided to try to stay home. But then I kept doing consulting work and I kept making myself really busy without any childcare. And I was scared to exit the workforce because I didn't want to, lose my touch or burn my connections and all of that kind of thing. So I had to figure out how to do both at once. And I did both at once for a while until our second son was, I don't know, maybe like a year old. And then went back to work full time and just got full-time childcare because I wasn't doing either thing specifically all that well because I was like half-assing trying to work while my kids are literally in my lap. And then I was, working during nap time and trying to squeeze things in. And it wasn't the easiest. So I've done like every phase of navigating the two things together. And where I just figured out that I'm happiest is having a full-time role, being part of a company and a team. I get to have my adult conversations all day, but then I get to turn it off and be a mom when I'm not at work. So that's the current plan, if you will.
It's funny. I am like the flip. Our motherhood and work journey is a little different. Yeah, I was also first in, last out, like took that especially when I got into tech. So my first few years of my career were not in tech. They were in nonprofit and higher ed. That's another episode for another day. And so once I got into tech, though, I was just like, I found my people and my place, my pace. That's the real thing, right? And I had this idea that I wanted to get to a certain point in my career before I became a mom, right? Like I was like, all right, I got to get to a point where like, if I leave my job to go on a maternity leave, I could come back and still be in that same place, right? And I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about that because it is a real thing. It's not a fake fear, right? I spent my first few years in tech, a company called QuickBase, also fully in person. I was joking. I drove in over an hour every day from one part of Boston to the other. Like I lived in Boston. Like I lived in Jamaica Plain, but I had to drive to Cambridge. So I drove through the city every day. And I was in business school part-time. So I was driving to class every night. And I then got to the point where I'd been married for a few years and we really wanted to have kids. And I took a job at a VC, and this was during COVID. And I was like, great, now I'm ready to have kids. And then I didn't get to choose that timing, right? And I think that that's a big part of like being a mom is an identity that you like is really hard because there's a lot of external factors, right? So I didn't end up having my first until 2 years later. And I wasn't even at that VC job anymore. I was working as a VP of marketing for a Series A. And I was the one that was like, all right, I have daycare lined up at 15 weeks pregnant. I'm going full-time back at 3 months after. And then I went back and was like, oh, this feels so yucky. I don't know how to fix this. Like I am working 60 hours a week and I'm like being told I wouldn't have to travel for the first year. Now already being asked 2 months in to go to San Francisco for a trip. I am in 8-hour executive meetings all day. And I'm like, this has to be different, right? Like that can't be what everyone's doing. And I was working from home. So imagine like going into an office every day and having to do that. So
Yeah.
I decided to start talking to a lot of folks I knew that were consultants, and my old boss was a fractional CMO, and I talked to her. She had a young kid, and I was like, you know what? Like my mantra at that time was babies make you brave. Every day I walked upstairs and saw what I was giving up. And so I was like, can I make my full-time salary working half the time? Because I love what I do, but I also feel very out of control of my life. I know I can't stay home, but I know I really don't want to do this either. And so, yeah, I've been on my own for the last 2 years, and I've had 2 kids in that time. I had 2 under 2, like a crazy person.
Has it already been 2 years that you've been on your own?
February it'll be 2 years.
That's
Technically I
wild.
had 3 under 3 because I had a baby and 2 babies and a business.
I love that. I love that.
I'm throwing my business a birthday party because I think it's important to do that. I spent so
like
much time
that.
planning my kids' parties. I should also plan a party for myself that has adults at it. But yeah, so now I actually am working with my littlest one pretty much at home. I have a little bit of partial childcare, but trying to get her to about a year out of flu season to go into daycare, which is so yeah, we kind of had opposite experiences. I'm not having a third child, so that is not
Nobody has a third child on purpose. Let's just be clear. Like, it can
sorry to
still
all my
happen to
third
you.
children out there. You were an
No, I've done my research on this. Okay. Like, no one plans number 3, but then they do plan number 4. They're like, oh man, we got to balance it out. Like, we need to do the number 4. We
The world
didn't
is
go
built
for
for
the number
twos.
4.
The world is
It
built for twos.
is.
It really is.
It really
I know.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm too old. I can't do that. So I'm not having a child. No one else is too old to have children. I just feel too old. So yeah, so now here I am just like doing a lot of momming and a lot of teching at the same time because I work exclusively with early stage founders at tech companies. So yeah, here we are.
Here you have it.
There we have it.
So, what does it actually mean to be in tech? First of all, if our little podcast here does what we think it could do, we're not going to always be so specific to just the tech industry. I think that's important to say. Like, being a working mom, regardless of where you work, is just a wild and difficult and crazy experience. That's where we wanted to kind of start and just kind of get our footing and talk to our friends and talk about how crazy it is, because I do think that technology companies have this like wild pace. And that is part of what makes it unique, is that you're not clocking in and working 40 hours and clocking out. That's rarely the case. And when we work at technology companies, it doesn't mean that you're like a coder. It doesn't mean that you are building tech products. It just is like this tech industry where often it's B2B software that we are like either building or marketing or selling. And they have a reputation for being a little bit more insane than most. And so, that's what we love about it. And that's also what makes it very interesting, I think, because it's also very flexible. And so for myself, even though it's very demanding and fast, I have a lot of flexibility. And that's very important to me for where I am in my family. And so that's another thing about the tech world that's like just a little bit different as a perk.
I think for me too, being able to be fractional consultant, whatever we want to call me, my positioning is clearer than that, but for this right now, is that this doesn't exist in every industry either. So what I do is a thing that exists in tech, which is like I am a resource for early stage tech companies to be able to establish the strategy of their marketing, their messaging, their positioning, and then build their team and get out of there, right? Like that is not necessarily something that happens in utility. And I talk to my friends all the time. Like I have a few best friends. We can all talk about the group chats that save our lives, right? And I have one where one's a lawyer, one works at a construction company, and one works at a utility. And they all have jobs where like what I do doesn't exist. Lawyers, I guess maybe, right? You could go out on your own and start your own firm and stuff, but it's definitely very, very different, right? And so I think there's a little bit of this like, oh, like you can do that. Like you can still, I think we'll get to this too at some point, but like my husband was out of work for the 2 years I had 2 kids. And I ran my own business and supported our whole family. And my kids still went to daycare, which was a little bit crazy. But I my husband's an electrician, so he was doing work. It was just not like consistent. And so that's not something that like any of my friends understood. They were like, how can you still make good money and not have just a part-time job, which I think is like what a lot of people think is like, I always thought you either need to be a stay-at-home mom or a working mom. And there was only two ways to do that, which is like either be away from your kids 60 hours a week or be with them all the time. And I've found a way to be able to do something that is like not that. And so I do think it's a little, I can only speak to the experience in tech, right, of my ability to do that because I only work for tech companies, mostly VC backed, right? So that's all I can speak to, right? Because that's my experience. Okay, so how do we want the listeners to feel?
I kind of want listeners to feel like they're not going crazy. Like I remember times when all the boys were super little where something would happen and I just felt like I wasn't normal or I was crazy or like no other person could be going through this. And like my kids were worse than all kids. And how could it be this way?
Yes.
And I talked to a mom friend who was actually Grayson's speech therapist. And she was like, no, this is like very normal. You're experiencing the thing that we all experience. And we actually met up for coffee at Starbucks. And I just remember sitting in that Starbucks and I felt this like weight come off of me. And I was like, oh, so like I'm not doing anything wrong. Like this is how it's supposed to be. First of all, that's really fucked up because it's really hard.
Yeah. Seriously, like this is it. That's what I was This is
It's
the thing we
supposed
all
to be
wanted.
this hard. I know. But then it just made me feel like, okay, I can relate to other moms who are going through this. I know that I'm not doing anything wrong. Like we're all in this together. And hopefully, you know, as we get through the like major milestones of being a mom and having kids and having bigger kids and kids in school, like you kind of learn a few tricks along the way. And if there's anything that we can offer as like a trick for people who are going through something, or if there's a guest that we can bring on who's an expert in doing something a little differently, giving you something to try, I feel like those are awesome moments where you feel like, okay, I'm not crazy and maybe I can make this a little bit better. I'm going to try this new thing.
Yeah. I think I often talk about this with my friends that we are really the first generation of women to build like full careers before we had kids. I think there was really like two groups of moms when we were growing up. There was like your friends that had moms that worked and your friends that had moms that stayed home. And most of them were just decisions that they made. People had kids younger, right? Like there was just, it was really different. And so I think a lot of us got to this place of like, all right, we have these careers that we worked really hard for. So a lot of us are the breadwinners in our family. We're doing all, and then you have kids and you're like, wait, what? Like this is what? Like, so now we just have two full-time jobs? You know what I mean? Like this is crazy. Like, so we just have to do 200% of what everyone else has to do. Yeah, I think there's this idea of like, how do we work together to find systems that work well for us and also like make the world comfortable with some of this stuff changing. Like, you know, I get on client calls and I say, hey, by the way, I have my 7-month-old here. She's in a chair, she's eating, but I may have to look back at her a few times, just letting you know. Or there's like, hey, can we move this meeting? Because I do pick up every single day. It's really important to me that I am at 3 o'clock pickup, but I'll do a 6 p.m. meeting because my husband's home and he can do dinner, right? Like I think there is this fallacy that being chained to your desk for 8 hours a day is the way to be a great employee, right? And I think I have a want to normalize that may not be the case, right? And so I think I like this to be a place where we can talk about those things, right? And say like, hey, how are you making this work? And so you don't leave every day feeling like a failure at both things, because there are days, and there will still be those days. I had one yesterday where I was like, wow, I've been like a really bad mom and a bad employee to myself. I work for myself. So today, and that's okay. That is okay because every day we can just start fresh, right? Like there's like, and I love the idea that we can have those conversations here.
We're not parenting experts by any stretch. We do not have this figured out. So I hope you don't think you're going to hear, this is the best way to get your kid to eat dinner, because my kids don't eat dinner. I have no idea how to get my kids to eat dinner.
Big snack is what I call it. That's the only way it's ever worked. We're going to have big snack.
That's a good idea. See? That's a
And it
good
has to
idea.
happen at 4 p.m. That's the other thing. It's like,
I saw someone saying that the earlier you make your large dinner, the better for the kids. So I think
yeah.
you're on to something. I think I need to try all of these things.
So we will
Big
share some
snack.
things that work and then things that don't work, which is calling something
Exactly.
dinner. My child is triggered by the word dinner because he thinks that means no more Spider-Man and that he has to sit at the table. He's triggered.
Yeah. Yeah. Cohen wants breakfast dinner because all he wants is waffles.
Oh,
Only
that's not,
waffles.
it's tough. That is a tough. Me too, Cohen. Me too.
Okay, small tangent when it comes to snacks. From the beginning, Cohen, who's the third baby, who's like along for the ride half the time, he was raised the same as everyone else, but he loves snacks and like everything in his life is about snacks. For his second birthday party, we had a snack party.
Yeah, you did.
We had so many toys already, and we were like, don't bring any more toys, just bring him snacks.
Oh my God. It's like girl dinner from the beginning. I'm dead. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I have pictures from it, and it's like just him standing in this mountain of snacks that people brought him instead of gifts. He loved it. And then I look back and I'm like, we fully did this. Like, we fully made him this way.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some things you don't realize you've done, right? Until you get further along. But we love to hear these kind of stories because I feel like sometimes at work, you're like, I want to talk about my kids, but I don't want to share them too much. It's like, well, if you have a funny story like that, like, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, this is a place for that. And I feel like every time I jump on a Zoom call or anything with other parents, if I open that gate, they all want to talk about it, right? Like, there is a want for that, right? So we have some really amazing friends that we are excited to hear from. Some on specific topics. So some want to talk about, like, when do you tell work that you're pregnant? What do you do if you're experiencing infertility at work? Like, what do you do with your partners to navigate their jobs and your job? Like, there's just so much to talk about, right? And some of the topics are really hard, and we'll make sure to be clear if they're very like challenging to listen to, but some are very lighthearted, right? Like, we're probably going to talk soon about freaking snow days. Tell me, what are we doing about snow days, guys? Like, what are
Oh
we
my
doing?
gosh. I need like the B2B SaaS ebook of snow days. Like, we need educational content on snow days.
White paper
Because-
downloads.
Those are so out, by the way, but
So out.
whatever.
Some industries still in, which is the weirder part. But yeah, that is true. They are.
Fair
If you're
enough.
selling to other
Fair
SaaS
enough.
companies, they're out. If you're selling to enterprise banks, they still like them. I'm telling you, I have clients all over the place. Let me tell you.
Yeah. So I think just as long as people can remember we're not experts, we're more here to like make you feel like you're not alone and give you a place to listen to some stories that might make you feel better, might help, or might just help you realize that everybody goes through these crazy things. Hopefully, it can be a place where you can just relax a little bit. And it's not a podcast about work either. We're not going to be talking about the best schedule for getting your day done or the best way to be online at night or whether or not white papers are important anymore. Like, we don't want to talk about work. We don't want to be a parenting podcast. We're just somewhere in the middle. And I think that is really indicative of where people are that are kind of in that same phase of life that we are in. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is I want to have moms come on the show who have like already been through the phases that we're in and they've like learned from it and they can look back and say, oh, when my kids were little, I miss doing XYZ, or I remember something that helped them, and kind of getting that reflection and like getting some light at the end of the tunnel, I think would be a great way for us to give some people like some encouragement. And yeah, it should feel like we're your friends. You can just like come hear our crazy lives and hopefully you can tell us about your life too.
If you want to engage with us, we are mostly active on LinkedIn. Of course, that's where we connected with one another. If you send a DM to Mallory, she won't answer it, but she'll think she did. And if you send a DM to me, I'll ask you if you're trying to sell me software, and if not, I will answer it. So I think there's
Please don't try to sell us anything.
Please don't. Guys, we're tired. I have no money. Don't tell me this. And so just kidding. But connect with us there. And also we're really excited for folks to subscribe and like build a community around this show. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. We're really excited, and thanks for building in public with us a little on this one. It'll continue to change as people give us feedback on what they want to hear about.
I feel like both of us have been on like a lot of different podcasts, and we've been frequent guests, but never had our own. So this is weird and scary, and I just want it to be cool and fun. Just be cool.
Just be cool. Just be cool.
Just be cool. We're not giving you another place to log into. We're not trying to get you to sign up for anything. We're not trying to ask you to like join our community. Nobody has time for that shit. It's really just like, take a load off. Here's some stories. And hopefully, hopefully along the way, we all get a little bit more comfortable being working moms, working together.
Thanks for listening to Full Stack Moms.
We'll be back with more episodes that help you see you're not crazy and you're not alone. If we might be your people, please make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.